Need a push getting your spirits, wine, or beverage brand into the hands of consumers? Interested in winning medals like a double gold award? Proof Awards, the ultimate beverage competition, can help jumpstart your brand into the hands of beverage buyers. Enter the Proof Awards. Be a part of the Proof Awards marketing campaign with our partner, Food and Beverage Magazine. All of our judges are buyers, and that's what sets our awards program apart from the others. Our judges head the beverage programs for restaurants, bars, nightclubs, casinos, liquor stores, big box retail, and national wine and spirits distributors. Your brand will be tasted by buyers from more than 15 states across the U.S. We have hundreds of categories to choose from at www.proofawards.com. Be seen by 12 million readers with our partner, Food and Beverage Magazine. Get tasted and rated by buyers. The Proof Awards competition is open for spirits, wine, and beverage brands today. Proof Awards, moving brands into the marketplace. www.proofawards.com.
Welcome to Proof Live, where booze brands in the right hands. On a quest for the best tipple and toast with the most exciting and respected bottlings. Competing for the 100-point Perfect Score Century Award and the double gold and a spot on the top shelf to be sipped, shaken, stirred, and celebrated. Slide up to the bar with the biggest names in the spirits game as they clink glasses with your hostess, legendary connoisseur Jennifer English, for intimate conversations, live tastings, product launches, and the happiest hour there is. Now, broadcasting live from the commodious confines of the Swanky Proof Saloon, where the liquid elite meet. Here is your hostess, the Madam of Manhattans, the Duchess of Daiquiris, the Queen of Conviviality, your hostess, James Beard Award winner, Jennifer English.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm Jennifer English. I'm the editor-at-large of Proof Magazine and your hostess. I think the future of food and drink has three very specific things that we're going to keep our eye on. One of them is what I call season to taste. What does that mean? It means making things taste the way it tastes best to you. It requires self-awareness and tasting, and it requires you spend a little bit of time figuring out what things you like best. And then it turns into the second thing, customization. We're going to see more and more customization of things in the future. The future, Food 3.0, is bespoke. You're going to see it all across the board. And guess what? Customize also means season to taste. They have something very common. And then there's the third thing. We're going to be celebrating everything from the garden, from plants, and we're going to celebrate all the ways that the garden and Mother Earth are going to give us gorgeous things. My friend Diane Mina is somebody who has an amazing product called Diane's Bloody Mary, and it's garden grown. And what does that mean? It means that you get the brightness and the freshness of the fresh tomatoes and the other things that will go into this blend. It has a sweetness, a brightness, a tanginess, a sourness. It has great heat. It has an herbaceous quality. You can literally taste the garden, and I love it. This time of year when it's so hot, you can just say it's too hot to cook, it's too hot to eat, so I'm going to have a sip, I'm going to drink my dinner. I have Bloody Mary mix combined with a little bit of juice from three things. From the peach, from the lime or lemon. I'm using lemon today because I think it goes best. Cucumber. And then I top it all off with club soda. It's bright and it's quenching. And with that little kiss of pickled carrot that comes from the escabeche, that wonderful spicy pickled carrot. All of a sudden, I looked at it and I said, well, that looks like an Alexander Calder sculpture or painting. And of course, it made it that much more delicious for me. It's bright. It's so quenching. And that little bit of peach juice really plays dramatically and brilliantly with the tomato. That's how I like this. But it's good all on its own. It's a product that entered the marketplace from a dream of Diane Mina's. She's spent her career in the hospitality industry. We'll talk a little bit about that. But before we do anything else, we have to welcome her to our table and thank her for bringing this amazing product to life. And today we're going to talk about building a brand, launching a brand, developing a product, and inspiring the entrepreneurs out there that are with us today. If you're in the hospitality industry and maybe your restaurant closed or your bar closed, or you want to do something also, think ampersand. What else do you want to add to your mix? Well, Diane Mina has some amazing ideas, experience to share, really great tips about how to become what it is you're dreaming of becoming. And along the way, we're going to remind you that this may be the greatest Bloody Mary mix that I've ever tasted. She joins us now from her test kitchens and gardens in California. Look at that beautiful tomato. Diane Mina, welcome.
Thank you, Jennifer. It's a pleasure to see you again. Thank you. Oh my gosh, what an intro. I'm humbled and teary. Thank you for that.
You're a sipping soul sister, and when you agreed to come on Proof Live today, not merely to talk about your product, we're going to talk about your product, but it's really a bigger story. It's a business story that we want to focus on today because you have a very decorated and prestigious and accomplished career in the hospitality industry. When you got started, did you ever imagine that you would be a consumer packaged goods queen?
I don't know about the queen part, but no, I definitely didn't think about that. And it's one of those things that you don't want to overuse the word naturally, organically happen, but that really is what happened. When you talk about dreams, I have my vision of dreams is kind of comes from very young, right? When I had a dream of being a solid gold dancer and an actress. So I'm neither one of those. But the third part was I grew up in a family of entertaining and service and loving and being around a family table. And it was just not only the four of us. It was, hospitable to invite neighbors and people who didn't have family around. So being in that at a very young age on the East Coast with my family, both the Puerto Rican side and the Italian side, I really learned that, you support people, you solve problems together, you do everything when you commune under one table or at one table with beautiful food, beautiful beverages that people love putting together, from nonas to grandmas to everything. So the dream was always to be in a situation where I can serve another human being. And what does that look like? I also had a cleaning company when I was younger. And I think having that entrepreneur spirit, our agenda today, we're talking about kind of bringing visions to life, right? And it's not always easy, even when you have a blessing and a platform that I have. Right. I'm acutely aware of the fortunate situation that I have. Coupled with that, there's still some grit that you have to have, and there's still a lot that you have to go through in order to get to this point where we are with distribution. So it's been quite the journey, and I love speaking to this piece of it because, and I appreciate you opening this up to those who you just mentioned earlier about who might be having a journey shift in their life. Over the past couple of years, I think that's been happening a lot lately, and people are saying, what else can I do? Because they're working from home. So visions and creativity is really active, I think, because you're not in that day-to-day grind, going to work, whether it was good or bad. You're kind of in this, we were all forced to be in a small space. And a lot of people have gotten creative and have changed their shift, but hospitality is not going anywhere,
Diane, let's go back a little bit. I come from the East Coast too. I know what a clam bake is supposed to feel like. Yes. I know what I'm a New Englander.
Yes.
I know what a clam bake is supposed to taste like. I know what all the flavors of a celebration on the beach or at a picnic table taste like. You have hit the nail on the head.
Thank you.
Not only have you captured a great product, which on its own, without the story, without the clam bake, this is just a great product.
Thank you.
But when you explain to me what I'm actually tasting, when you remind me of how the connection, how the experience and recipe DNA of this ties to something I'm familiar with, it explains, well, of course, that's why I love it so much.
Yeah.
When you think about how this got started, take us back. What year is it when you first started making these signature Bloody Marys that became Diane's Garden grown?
2014.
Yeah.
So drinking Bloody Marys always, right? Started at a young age. And so it was always in my life. So that's the organic piece, right? You've had something in your life, but it was always in the background. And then our industry we had a platform of what we do. I mean, that's just the obvious. So,
well, because there are going to be a lot of young people who may not know your journey and your history.
Mhm.
I'm gonna give you a couple minutes. Tell everybody where you got started and the acclaim you've come to know and the partnership that you have.
So for those who don't know, I have been in the hospitality restaurant industry for probably over 35 years now. My husband and I, Michael Mina, we're restaurateurs. I met Michael in 1990. And there was a vision to do a solo restaurant together as we were just dating. But my background before my husband was hotels. I wanted to be a general manager of a hotel. So, but I met Michael in San Francisco working in the high tea room, and he was working pastry at the opera. And he was the pastry chef. I was the tea girl. We fell in love and we built a restaurant company. I mean, that's a short version of it. But we also have, 45 plus people that have definitely supported that dream. Like that's the dream that Michael and I did together. We were brought together by that love of service and hospitality. And then we just had been really lucky and blessed to meet right people who've been wanting to grow the restaurant company as we did. We have a lot of people that have been in our company for 20 years. So we're very blessed to have the infrastructure that we do have. So that's really where we started, is we opened up Aqua in San Francisco.
I was going to say, you began the journey in San Francisco.
Yeah,
and when you did, you're talking about a San Francisco made famous by the likes of, let's go run the list. Got to start with Jeremiah Tower.
Oh my goodness. We used to go hang out at Stars all the time. And Jeremiah Tower, that's how I don't know if you've ever heard that story, but Michael was 14 years old and was watching Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. And he saw Jeremiah Towers in Stars restaurant, sipping on, tasting his mise en place and making sure everything was tight and those who weren't there, but he was walking around doing that with champagne. He did it with style and grace and class. He was a tough guy, but Michael knew right then and there what he wanted to do with his life at 14, as I did in hospitality young age. So that's part of it. And then, are you kidding me? I'm in San Francisco, California, and San Francisco. With a mecca
just
of
name some of the names, because what came out of San Francisco in that era was extraordinary.
Oh my gosh.
San Francisco, wine country, Michael Chiarello.
Michael. Oh my gosh. I just saw him the other day. I mean, Michael Chiarello. Thomas Keller.
Zuni Cafe.
Charles Fan, Alice Waters. The list is on. From Boulevard. Oh my gosh. Nancy Oakes. George Marones. Listen, they set the stage for. Oh my gosh. Mustard. Cindy. Oh, of course. It just, the list goes on.
It was an incredible, fertile, fecund time of culinary creativity.
Absolutely.
You were part of one of the great culinary explosions.
Yes.
That when people look back, they're going to look at it like art and Paris in the 1920s.
Oh, yes, that's exactly right. You're right. And we need to reflect more on that, I think. And that helps the younger generation culinary teams that come out of the cooking schools, and I think they're looking for a higher salary than they're understanding the process. That's kind of a little bit of a dip. We're going to have to get better on that. But, seriously, Alice Waters, the people that have just paved the way for us to excel in this dream.
Armani.
It's just been too much. It's been such a blessing.
Plus you had people like Chuck Williams, who was like the godfather of, it was just a place, right? You had Michael, the Mondavis.
The Mondavis. Oh my gosh. Yes. You look at all these people.
Look at what you had happening. So this is the moment you're coming into your blossom in this world.
Yeah. Yeah.
At this time, you didn't necessarily have a product if you were a chef in a restaurant. Right. You might have one thing, you might have a secret sauce, but most likely not. Right. Not like it is today. it was a very different kind of business. And you were very successful. And this is before celebrated chefs were invited to Las Vegas. And that
Yeah.
came, and it came quickly for you.
1998. Yeah. That was a big year. Mm-hmm.
And along with everybody, it was just like
Julian Serrano and Jean-Louis Paladin and Todd English.
And the Macchionis
and Todd English.
And, you know, Elizabeth Blau lit the torch, and it was like the moths. They just were drawn to Las Vegas, and the world changed again.
It did.
And I think people that didn't know Michael Mina restaurants in San Francisco discovered them in Las Vegas. Again, what was the essence and the spirit of the hospitality that you offered, and what was the philosophy of flavor
in Las Vegas?
In the Michael Mina environment, in the ethos as a brand, you were growing what your food and flavor mission was.
Well, we knew we wanted to always use local farmers, local ingredients, and create seasonal menus that people can identify that live in our communities. Super important, right? But we also know that we have to have some uniques that are coming, that are unique to our brand, whether we get some items shipped in from Japan or Italy. We have some hidden gems there, but for the most part, we didn't really have to go outside of our own neighborhood to buy incredible product, to create a menu and a diversity for people who are so used to, you know, going to the West, all the way up and down the West Coast, finding incredible restaurants to enjoy and spend time with. And I think the environment that we created for fine dining, you know, when you talk about Wolfgang Puck and Julian Serrano, you talk about all those guys that had fine dining underneath one umbrella. That was a thing, right? The fine dining was really big, and we wanted to stay in that space. It's fast casual is great. We love the fast casual. We love that has a space for it, but we love making, what we both shared was at that dining experience level, that those guests were going to leave saying that was the best experience we've ever had. From greeting at the door, from the most, what we hope to be, have the greatest host greeter, welcoming into that space, to the ambient lights, the room, the way the room looks, to the table setting, warm environment. You're coming into someone's home. We always want, I mean, that we really, it's a family-owned restaurant company. Even though we have, you know, we have people, we have invested, all kinds of stuff like that. But at the bottom line is we're still family-owned, family-run operation. And we want the food to resonate, that we want the atmosphere to resonate, a family environment, friendly service, top-notch service, one-on-one service that, you know, our price point is not easy for some people. So, you know, we have to make sure that we're making sure all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted with service 101 and creating fresh new items all the time, so that when people are sitting in a Michael Mina restaurant, they're going to know they're in a Michael Mina restaurant. And I get really emotional about that, because even when I haven't been to all of our restaurants. I mean, I've been to a majority of them because they're, you know, we've had a blessing to have them in Dubai and different places. But when you sit in one of our restaurants, it's very cool to know that when I met my husband back in the day, and what we wanted to do is just have a cool place for people to hang out, have incredible food, have a great time, create an experience that the flavors are so intricate. Like each dish is thought about. It seems simple, but it's mind-blowing. I guess mind-blowing is one of the words too that I wanted to put in there, because people walk out and just are like, what is that experience? So it's not just the food, Jen, it's everything that goes with it. So.
And by the way, as a native New Englander, there is no higher praise that I can proffer than to say one of the 3 best pieces of fish that I have ever eaten in my entire life was prepared in Las Vegas by Michael Mina.
Oh my God.
I still think about how succulent and fleshy and perfect.
Wow. Thank you. What was that fish? Do you remember what it was? Do you remember?
I believe it was a halibut.
The halibut. Oh,
it was really, really good. It was white and gorgeous, and just everything about it had been just
Oh, that's
It's
really
like you
nice.
took something that was really simple and then you did everything you could possibly do to it, and then you simplified it.
That's
It's
when
like you go there and come back
Mhm.
and say, here. Do you
Yeah.
understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, and so that's a really big thing for Michael too. It's all about acid, sweet, fats, and all of those elements, because he doesn't like overcomplicating things.
But the
And
fish,
the fish,
I couldn't, in my mind, in my flavor memory, in my sense memory, in my food memory, it was this is my memory. It was a white plate. I don't remember a sauce, a garnish. I remember nothing. I remember the most perfect piece of white fish on the plate, as if it had nothing else. It's like everything else just melted away.
Oh, I'm wondering if that was the one that we have. It was submerged in. I want to say Michael came up with this crazy idea.
Like a broth almost.
Yeah.
Like a bath?
Stay with me for 1 second. On our honeymoon, we were in Hawaii, and we were in the ocean, and he's just like, gosh, it would be really great to freeze this ocean water with all of its, in Hawaii with the kelp and the this and the that and all that stuff. And he literally, when we opened up Sea Blue, that's what he did. We actually had ice. We took ocean water, had it purified, cleaned out, the whole 9 yards, and shipped it to Vegas. And it would be, and we'd take these beautiful pieces of white fish, and it would just submerge in this beautiful seawater. So I'm having a feeling.
I'm going to tell you 2 other things, okay?
Yes.
It's insanely simple. For fish that I didn't cook myself, there are only 2 other things I can tell you about. One, when Rocco was young and he was at Union, he did what looked like a 2-tiered stepped birthday cake of crushed ice. And the tiers had scallop shells.
Oh, wow.
And he did a crudo in them. To this day, I could cry thinking about that food. Now, did I like it more than the whitefish? No, I can't pick one.
They're just different.
And then, of course, being native New Englander, the lobster of my youth in any form really is
the lobster. Oh yeah, I mean, it's some good stuff. I mean, the seafood it's a hard thing to cook, right? People always ask
how do you pick your favorite over those? Now, with all of the things, we're straying. You and I could talk for an hour, and I don't want to make everybody wonder when we're going to talk about business. But we are talking about business.
We are talking about business, yes.
You didn't necessarily dream of becoming a separate business unit, a subsidiary of Michael Mina, and talk a little bit about how important the Bloody Mary always was to your operations. Did this become a signature for you? Forgive me for being ignorant. I don't remember thinking to myself, oh my God, I'm going to Michael Mina's, I'm going to have the best Bloody Mary. I like a nice Bloody Mary, but I don't remember all my visits to your restaurants thinking that's going to be the best Bloody Mary. When did this become a thing for you?
Well, again, I enjoyed them before my husband did. So to say that a premier high-end restaurant, fine dining, they weren't focusing on Bloody Mary mixers. Who really is? Bloody Marys are, unfortunately, they get the tagline of being a hangover specialty, or the garnish is the best.
Right.
And from conception of this, so, drinking it as a young person, and then I knew that I loved it so much. And now we have this platform of course, I was seeing all the product that was coming in the door. Because Michael did back of the house, I was front of the house and did events. So I was always pretty much behind the bar. And we would always use Clamato. I mean, it was either Mr. and Mrs. T's, and that was early on. Mr. and Mrs. T's, I don't think any of our restaurants ever used, but it turned into Clamato mostly because the consumer was looking for a thinner mixer. And that was more playful for the behind the bar bartender,
and it was juicy.
And it was juicy, right? So, being from the East Coast, that clam juice, but then you kind of investigate when you're in the business now of production and you see what ingredients mean, you learn a lot, right? That's to no negativity of any of my competitors out there, or my counterparts in my category, but you definitely learn a lot. So for me, in the beginning, I just always drank Bloody Marys at our restaurants. So it was either a Sacramento tomato juice that they would use as a staple for other sauces.
Those
And
distinctive gold
the gold
cans,
label.
those 32-ounce cans that you had to open with a proper pointy tipped can opener. I'm sure we all still have one. I don't know what any of us use.
And that's what they were doing. So it was a batched 5-gallon recipe. And some days it's inconsistent. Maybe Jill wants to have it super spicy. Maybe Joe wants to not have it so spicy. So even though there's specs on Bloody Marys, you can't hold any bartender to that. Because at the end of the day, you either serve too little or too many, right? There's restaurants, especially ours, most of our restaurants are dining experiences. So a Bloody Mary staple was like, it's a secondary, it's like the last thing on the list that they were ordering. So when we had this blessing of opening up the Michael Mina tailgate, that's when this came kind of to fruition. But I've been known, to answer your question, I've been known to make really good Bloody Marys all by myself on our off time. And then people would say, you should put your stuff in a bottle. You should make a mix. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And they've been saying this for, I would say, Jennifer, a good 15 years, 20 years. I'm like, you guys are so funny. I use other mixers and I just make them taste better. So it's like, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but what I meant by that is I made them spicy. I put what you're talking about. You put on the beautiful carrot, right? What was the carrot that you used in your blend?
I used the escabeche. So in the taco culture, you get a mix of spicy onions and pickled onions and spicy pickled carrot. And
I love that.
And I use that spicy pickled carrot, and then I put a cucumber next to it on the rim, and then a slice of lemon, and then a slice of peach. And as I was putting them in, I gave a squeeze of each of those things.
Oh,
there's a little bit of lemon juice. There's a little bit of pickle juice. There's a little bit of peach juice. There's a little bit of cucumber. There's not a lot of juice in a cucumber, but just give it a squeeze.
It's just very little.
And it's in there. And I those flavors, to my mind, play off the flavors in your blend and really accentuate all of the sweet notes, the sort of spicy note, the sort of sour note, the herby note. It really played nicely, I thought.
Oh, well, thank you. And that's what I love to hear, because again, with the mixers that were out there really in, what was it, 1980s is when Mr. Mrs. T's came out. And that was kind of like the big brand to have, was Mr. Mrs. T's. It was a little bit heavy on the black pepper. And then it kind of moved into other mixers trying to get into the market share. So again, going back to, I always made them, loved them. And to your point, I made them very personalized and people loved them. So,
all right. So tell me when you realized this was a market segment that was an opportunity and not just a ghost town. Because it's been around for a while. This isn't sexy. Everybody prides themselves on making their own better than everybody else,
personal,
right? So I mean, it's very personal. But what's so interesting to me is I wouldn't have imagined that this was just a category screaming for reinvention, and yet look what you've done. How did you know that this was ready for an update?
Well, when we opened up the tailgate in 2014, when we partnered up with the 49er organization, and we sold them on the concept of doing this which no one else was doing, was a premier tailgate experience. And my husband basically said, oh, by the way, this is how it came around. Really, it sounds simple, but it was the truth. He's like, I'm going to do all this food. We're going to bring in these chefs from the teams we're playing. Oh, and by the way, my wife makes a killer Bloody Mary. So he did the concept. It was all around food and all talent. And then, by the way, my wife makes a good Bloody Mary. So he's telling me this pitch. And I'm like, what do you mean, by the way, I make a good Bloody Mary? I'm like, this is a pretty big platform. This is a big deal. You're talking about the 49ers.
You could be making 20,000 Bloody Marys a Sunday.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm like, exactly. And I said,
you're not scared off by this.
I'm not scared because, well, I was a little bit intimidated because something that was on Sundays that we would spend time together is now going to be into a concept and it's going to be exposed to thousands of people. So I was like, wait a minute, hold on a second. And to be honest with you, the candlestick moving to Santa Clara, there was a lot of hype behind this. So I got to have my act together, Jennifer. So I was like, what am I going to do? So he said, oh, yeah, don't worry about it. You'll just set up a really cool bar. I know you've got it under control. And I'm like, Okay. So I got to think this thing through. So basically, so there's, 3 different things. It's always a balancing act of, I have to make the best Bloody Mary that's out there. And and this was my platform, I had this opportunity by having a tailgate. So I planted a garden. I asked my husband, I actually mixed the tomatoes together. So I created the recipe from my garden, literally from my garden. And I would hand squeeze these tomatoes. It was a 5-day process. I would start on Wednesday. Game day was Sunday. I would have close to probably 15 people helping me with getting all of my ingredients from the olive.
Did you have one of those red tomato presses?
Pretty darn close. Yeah. Pretty darn close. It was an apple press. I used to have 3 or 4 presses. So then it was a fresh made product, right? That people were getting for, 2 years we were serving. And then, so to your point, it was never, I was like, gosh, we should really do this for our restaurants. Right. So now the culinary team's like, oh my gosh, now Diane wants us to hand press tomatoes. We're going to add that to the mise en place. So like, we already have 170 items. So I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, oh no. Okay. You guys you're going to try the best Bloody Mary you've ever had that I've created. And now you're going to go back to a bottled brand? Get out of here. What are we going to do now? So yes, there was always an opportunity that not only for the stadium that we were going to bring in Diane's Bloody Mary to the restaurant team. How was that going to get executed, Jennifer? I have no idea at that point.
Can you tell me how big this category is in U.S., North American, global sales for Bloody Mary mixes at this point? When you started looking into this, you had to be surprised at just what you were looking at. It wasn't merely that you were thinking about 20,000 Bloody Marys at a stadium for football fans on a limited basis, on a seasonal basis. All of a sudden, you were going into something that was a multi-million-dollar industry.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty beefy. I mean, the big boys are zing-zangs at holding at an 85% market share. They got a 2 million case volume a year. I was, of course, those numbers at where I'm starting, you can't really compete with those. So our market is really our consumer. It's repeat business, right? So that's what we had at the tailgate when the president of Williams-Sonoma came over, and they had their own brand.
Right.
And Janet Hayes, who, God bless her, she was like, this is, very complimentary. She's like, this is the best mix I've ever had. Would you bottle it with us? And I was like, whoa, what are you talking about? So I learned to your point, but Charles Williams and his team, they were like, let's get you on board. So we launched with them in 2017. So we started with the scratch recipe in 2014, launched with Williams-Sonoma, and we were exclusive with them for about a year. And then we were able to partner up with Southern Glaziers with a local manufacturing. I would go into our production facility. We were partners with a gentleman out of Sacramento, getting our tomatoes from 10 Brink Farms out there, and just bringing in 1,000 pounds a week, and we'd be crushing and dicing and doing our thing. So that's kind of where the balancing act is. Like, you can really create something that you love, but now the barriers are bringing in a product to market, right? And that's what we're talking about today, is how do we get, how do we bring something to the market? And because it's not easy. It's not easy to break those barriers, and you have to have grit. You have to have humility. You have to have patience and understanding, and know that whatever you're creating, for however reason it got there, if you're an opportunity for scalability and getting it to a bigger market, you've got to do your research. You have to educate yourself. And
how big is the category today, and how much did it grow during COVID?
Which, for just the Bloody Mary category in itself, it's over. I couldn't even tell you. I don't know if I spend too much time. I probably should more on those stats, but I can tell you that over 1 billion Bloody Marys are consumed a year, and they're used for both Mary cocktails and in food now. But the spirit category is, in general, over 45, 50, 65% growing for COVID. As far as the non-alc mixers, a lot of people are also paying attention to just really great juices, people that don't want to have any spirits, right? So, it's the...
I've enjoyed this so thoroughly.
That went down pretty quickly. I got to say, that's pretty nice to see.
I use a giant ice cube like you would make for a fine whiskey.
Yes.
A sphere ice. all those juices, the tomato, to me, it's like I just had a gazpacho for my lunch.
Oh, see, and that's that's the other thing that's beautiful. That's what a lot of our chefs do that, which is kind of nice.
And it didn't need to be a Bloody Mary. I drink very little personally. I taste and sip because I'm a connoisseur and I'm an educator, I'm a teacher. But I would take one of these when it's hot like it is right now. This category is really heating up. And for the Proof Awards coming up, they've uncovered a lot of really great emerging products and categories that are worth paying attention to. Talk to me a little bit about actually becoming the brand. Because Diane Mina's Garden Grown Blends is now really a thing.
It is. I thank you. I mean, you know, you have to have the ability to, you know, when I talk about the garden recipe, we talk about that a lot. And the only reason why I'm going to go back to that again is because I had to make the best Bloody Mary, the most fresh tasting Bloody Mary that tasted fresh and hand squeezed, just what you have right now. And I also had to see what the market could bear in that, right? So I had to make sure that both in price and the ability to get it to the people were there. And sometimes when you're building a brand, you know, when you're dealing with manufacturers and sourcing, others will try to take that away from you, and they'll try to rechange your brand, or they try to change your voice, or they try to say, listen, to save the dollar, you should probably try this.
Right.
And I didn't do that. And I still won't do that. And I think, what's that?
No, I don't want to interrupt you, but we've kept you longer than we told you we were going to keep you. We've been here a little while. I want to have you talk in a couple of minutes because we've gone over our time, but I could literally talk to you all day. Talk about how you want to inspire people in our hospitality industry who, like all of us, slogged and worked hard and missed holidays with our families, and how this moment in time is really, pardon the tomato pun, ripe.
Yeah. To
come up with a product, because the world is hungry for what we know is really good. The world is really ready for, you know, their friends in the business like you and me to say, we've gone all over, we've tried everything, we recipe tested, we developed this, and if you don't like this, I'll eat my hat.
Yeah. I think it's important to talk about that entrepreneur spirit. You have to have that first and foremost. I have to say that, because there's people that are fine, you know, but to inspire another, you have to believe in what you're doing first. So I knew, of course, I had doubt when I started this, and everybody was very generous. When people say that this is the best, when you share that with me, I get the same sensation from day one. And I think, that's the inspiration that keeps me going. So people who believe that they have something that is stellar, that can be a disruptor in a category. The consumers, Jennifer, as you know, are asking for better product. They want it all. We can, you know, it's not like we're going to compete with the big boys, but we can definitely take some of that market share for sure. And there's plenty of time or opportunity for that to happen. But you have to have grit. You have to be able to have patience. And you know how you did this? Yes.
This is one of the cleanest products.
Yeah, it is clean.
That is ready to drink. Yes. That is a prepared product that has a direct DNA to the garden.
Yes.
There are very few things that taste this clean. Very few.
We work very hard at that because we source all of our ingredients. I know where our products are coming from. And some of the big names that don't have that. So know where your products are coming from. Do your research. You don't have to reinvent the story. Find another story that resonates with you, that's inspiring to you, and pull from it. It's really hard to start on a piece of paper, but just put down your thoughts about what is important to you and what you're trying to create. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be eloquent, and it'll stick. That spaghetti will stick to the wall, and then you grow from there.
Do you know what I want to do with this?
I'm dying to hear.
I want this to be a Bloody Mary Hawaiian shave ice.
So
I need this
Yeah.
to be churning away in a slushy machine at 7-Eleven.
We're working on it.
Not at 7-Eleven, but
No,
somewhere
yes.
on the campus of one of the casinos in
I
Las
got you.
Vegas.
I got you.
And
We're
then I'm
working on
walking around enjoying this frappe with crushed ice and all of the savoriness, because for every sweet drink that people walk around Las Vegas carrying and enjoying, I want mine savory. I want mine clean. I'd like it vegetal if possible. I'd like it alcohol-free, as delicious alcohol-free as it is.
You got it. I'm on it.
Spirited up, and you've done a lot to get me there. So can you put this in a machine?
So
where it's going to come out like a slushy?
I can't believe you just said that. So we're working on that right now because we're obviously in Vegas now. The sediments, because I use fresh leaves, right? So I use garden ingredients. So piping that through those lines, I got a slushy guy. The ice maker was like, Diane, there's no way this is going to happen. The lines, it's too thick. So I got to work on this.
You can't use the real green vegetable. You know what you need to do is you need to have it as a tincture. You have to have herbal tincture.
Yes. So now we're going to exactly. The essence of the garden grown blend.
And by the way, when we were talking about San Francisco, you know who we forgot to mention?
Oh my gosh.
Hubert.
I think I said Keller. Didn't I say? Oh, I said Thomas Keller.
Hubert Keller. I know. Anyway, when are you going to do a master class about how to develop a product based on your dream?
Oh.
And can I answer it for you?
I'm ready. I got to learn from you. Can you help me with that? I'm ready.
If you let me MC it, I'm happy to help you develop that, because I think you have so much to teach us.
There's so much more there. You know, I got a lot to talk about. Obviously, I so appreciate us going over. I'd be honored. And I think that I would really I love helping people. Like, that's what Michael and I want to do. We want to help generations leave legacies. And we know that there's a lot of talent out there that still needs to be seen.
And I want you to pour this into old-fashioned ice cube trays.
I did that. Okay, I got you. I got a list. You got me a big list. It's running. I got you. I'm on it, Jen. I got it.
Because I want you to imagine how delicious it would be to float one of those cubes in a beautiful broth.
Yes, ma'am.
And just a whiff, just a schmear of garden.
Chef just made it. We had some friends over and he just used it for, again, I told you about the ceviche, and then he made it in his red sauce. He used the green label. Do you have both?
I have the green label. It's I don't know if you can see. I've left it in the background so it could be like, look at me over here. Right back. Can you see by the end of my thumb there where it is? Yeah,
that's becoming a popular brand. The red label, she's flying like crazy, and the green label is gaining traction.
Where can we find this?
So in California, we're in Bevmo. So we're still working on a lot of distributions. We're in 4 markets with Southern Glaciers and in Cisco. So Whole Foods, Molly Stone's, Bevmo on the website. Check it out. We have individual stores in Florida and Hawaii. Oh, look at that. Oh, that was fun. That's at Breza Hotel. We're at about 220 outlets in Las Vegas. And we just started a Drink Beautifully tour that I'm going to be doing through my social media, where I'm going to be finding all the hot spots that serve our blends. Because sometimes, when you're working with a distributor, they land accounts that you don't know about, and it's kind of a blessing. So I'm like, where are we? So, it's a team of 3 women that run this company. It's myself, Sarah, and Paula, and 3 women strong. So we cover all things from finance to ops to sales and marketing. We don't have a big team, but we're mighty and strong, my friend. So wherever.
So I am raising my now empty glass to you to say thank you for making this time to come on Proof Live with us. It was a very non-traditional Proof Live, but I want people to know that of all the categories, we're going to have more entries this year across all our categories than ever before.
Great.
And that the entrepreneurial bug is hitting our industry right about now. And the new things that are coming into the marketplace are inspiring operators, bartenders, chefs, and hoteliers. And there is such hungry demand for new, fabulous products.
Thank you, Jennifer. And to be part of that, and to be part of this opportunity to talk about our product and with your team and your skill and your experience, I'm honored to be here.
Well, I look forward to seeing you at the Proof Awards. And let's just remind everybody again, you could go to DianeMina.net. It is Diane Mina's Golden Grown Blends, garden grown in her garden, They're golden delicious as far
They're
as
golden
I'm
delicious.
concerned. And if you look at this and you imagine where you could take this and what you can do with it, it really is inspiring. And for culinarians like me who are looking for grown-up, sophisticated, simple, really clean flavors, this checks every box.
Wow. Thank you, Jennifer. Appreciate you.
I actually would love to get some of those tomato leaves from the plant behind you, because the aroma of a tomato leaf is so distinctive.
Yeah.
I want that as my garniture on this.
Well, that's part of the recipe when we were letting them rest. That rind bite, it's hard. It is what it is. So it's delicious. You can't repeat that. That's garden goodness 101.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jennifer. Talk soon.
Cheers.
Cheers.
How did you meet these fantastic men? Ian, Paul, it's so lovely to have you here with us. Welcome. And I raise my glass to welcome you. We have the Vice President of Marketing from Zing Zang, the company who makes the best not only mixers, but now ready-to-drink cocktails. Extraordinary friend Diane Mina joins us from her home in Las Vegas, where she has
Whether you are thinking about becoming a restaurateur or you are already in the business, Michael Politz has written a must-read, The Food and Beverage Magazine's Guide to Restaurant Success. Pick up your copy today at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Books A Million, or wherever fine books are sold.